government contracts.
What bidding documents were submitted? What evaluation and reviews took place before the decisions were taken? Unless somebody tells me that no, they just signed a contract for them.
We have exclusive details as the Auditor General's Department begins procurement audit of all state institutions, including the PPA, following the Contracts for Sale documentary. Top Story is brought to you by Gasm, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready. Bond savings and loans, your success, our passion. And tonight, the Audit Service has officially become the third state institution to begin probing contracts for sale scandal involving a company owned by the suspended CEO of the Public Procurement Authority, Ejeni Mboating-Ejei. Auditor General Daniel Domelovo says his outfit is beginning a procurement audit of all state institutions, including the Public Procurement Authority. In the Manasseh Azuriawoni documentary titled Contracts for Sale, A.B. Ejei was found to have sold government contracts through his company, and he was suspended hours after the airing of the documentary by President Akufo-Addo. Now, that's not all. There was a request made to the Office of the Special Prosecutor as well as SHRAJ to probe the matter. Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu has since directed Mr. Ejeni Mboating-Ejei to appear before his office this Thursday. While Mr. Domelovo says the procurement audit his outfit will conduct will get to the bottom of the matter. He spoke to Evans Mensah.
That you brought that firm to be shortlisted. If it doesn't have the requirement, why do we shortlist it?
And eventually even give him the contract.
Exactly. Yeah. Not only shortlist it, at the end, even won
the contract.
So it doesn't mean it was okay. I've been thinking through up to now. I've not yet gone there, but we will get there to see what bidding documents were submitted, what evaluation and reviews took place before the decisions were taken. Unless somebody tells me that no, they just signed a contract for them. There was no process. Because how are you going to convince the people that you have a firm which has done, normally you show the type of jobs you have done in the past. I've constructed these kilometers here, this building here, this, that, here. Those competences, how did they get it? Because they are barely 1 year old and they have never done one before.
Interesting point. Do you then agree with those I've heard on the back of the revelation who say maybe we are over-focusing on the PPA to the neglect of the big individuals who may be behind this company, who are actually influencing the process where they get the contract in spite of their not being qualified to get it in the first place? Are we focusing this right so that we don't miss anything?
I think people are focusing there because of the surprise that it is a procurement agency which is involved. But my audit is not focusing on one area. My audit is sweeping all of them. We are bringing everybody onto the table to answer questions.
On this particular matter?
No, I'm saying I'm doing procurement audit. I cannot tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing procurement audit. And in my procurement audit, I ask questions from both the agency.
So you're looking at the entire chain.
The whole chain. You want to understand. In fact, to be honest with you, one of the areas that Ghanaians have not even addressed their minds to, which beats my mind and understanding, is the fact that people buy just for the sake of buying, not because they need it.
True.
They can buy a vehicle and park it. They can build a hospital and not use it. We can build a school and not use it. And I say, what kind of country is this? People don't look at that. People say there is value for money just because this pen is selling at 10 cedis and you bought it at 10 cedis. But then the guy has bought the pen and thrown it away. Will any normal human being do that? But I think you, the media, even the Joy, I think I've seen you showing vehicles, showing a whole lot of things. With that. As a country, we have to wake up. All is not lost yet. Our audit is on the way. It's premature for me to tell you some of our findings, and it's very unprofessional for me to talk about it. I am very sure that when we finish, you will see our report.
Auditor General there, Daniel Domelovo, in that interview with Evans Mensah. Now, the full interview will be aired on PM Express on the Joy News channel at 9 p.m. tonight. You definitely want to make a date. But he's also been speaking to the board chairman of the Internal Audit Agency, Mr. Joseph B. Winful, on the same show that will be airing tonight. And he is charging internal auditors to be up and doing to detect such anomalies.
After seeing what it is, I realized that the internal audit is going to be the real what do you call it, medicinal dose that will really minimize this sort of thing. I won't say eradication, but minimize it. If you look at the example from the PPA and then, coming back to the video, you see that there has been a whole chain, even before the PPA got in. So what happened to each of the chain? The internal auditors are sometimes referred to as compliance officers. Okay. There are rules, controls, and regulations all over the place. So they are supposed to see, if you are reviewing it, were these complied with? What are the criteria? And so on and so forth. So maybe if you take the basic one, that these contracts were meant to be executed by persons with the required skills and capabilities, and they did not even have it if you look at the evaluation. Or maybe no evaluation was done, but the controls indicate that there must be an evaluation and before a short list. So if an evaluation was not done, the internal auditor has every right to call the attention of the authorities and include that in the report, because it's a control weakness. But we don't have that in existence. And if we do, then those charged with that responsibility are not performing that, and that is on the field. So it will not come out until 18 months later when we have to report and say, oh my God, this is what happened. It's too late. Or you have an investigative journalist like Manasseh go into the field and try to, unearth this sort of thing. We shouldn't wait until then.
So you had there Joseph B. Winful, and he's the board chairman of the Internal Audit Agency, speaking to Evans Mensah. And like I said, the full program or the full interview will be aired on the PM Express on the Joy News channel at 9 p.m. You definitely do not want to miss that. Also on all our social media platforms. But so as it stands now, we have a tripartite probe on our hands, all looking into the dealings of Mr. Ejenim Boateng Ejei's company and the sale of contracts while at the PPA, largely investigating conflicts of interest, corruption, etc. We'll hear from the board chairman of the PPA, Professor Boateng, shortly. But let's go on the phone lines now, because you know that the president requested Shraj to investigate and establish the possibility of conflicts of interest in the case, and they've been meeting on the issue already. We are happy to have Shraj boss, Mr. Joseph Wetao, join us on the line live. We are grateful for your time here on Top Story, Mr. Wetao. So I would want to find out, first of all, when exactly your outfit received the communication from the presidency on this issue involving the CEO of PPA.
Thank you, Emefa. I can confirm that we received the communication on Thursday, somewhere around the afternoon.
And your
thereabouts.
Okay, Thursday afternoon thereabout. That's after the suspension notice was issued, I must say.
That's right.
And what have we been doing since we received this communication from the presidency?
Yeah. We have been subjecting the referral to our constitutional regulations, which require that we should first assess the complaint, ensure that it's within the mandate. And I can assure you that we had completed the assessment this afternoon. The issues of conflict of interest are all within the mandate of the commission to investigate. And it may even appear that there are other issues of our mandate, our administrative justice and corruption mandate, that seem to have been triggered.
So what you're saying is you've assessed the complaints and all the issues that are coming up is within your mandate. And you're saying other issues aside conflict of interest is also coming up for you, Ashraj?
Yes, because don't forget that the Commission has quite a number of multiple mandates. The administrative justice mandate actually concerns ensuring that administrative bodies and officials act within the law. And so even though the president is referring issues of conflict of interest, clearly there are issues of administrative justice that are involved. And you do know that we also have a corruption mandate. Even though referral has been made to the special prosecutor, we take note that we have a mandate also over the corruption aspect.
Now that all this has been established, then when exactly are you launching into the investigations proper?
By the constitutional injunctions, we are expected first to serve the person of interest with the complaint, in this case, the referral from the presidency, and to demand that within 10 days, he admits in writing to the issues of conflict of interest, and if he should do so expressly and without equivocation. And on the basis of that, if he says he admits, then there will be no point in carrying out an investigation. We will take appropriate action. But if he does not admit, then we will go into full investigation. So, by virtue of due process, we have to give him the opportunity to respond to the allegations.
And with that 10 days that we talk about, has it been triggered? Has he already been written to? That's Mr. Ejenim Boateng-Ejay. Has Shraj written to him already? Or if not, when are you expecting to do so?
Latest by tomorrow, he will be served.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
And then the 10 days immediately begins.
Would trigger in, yes.
Well, so if he admits, you say there will be no investigation, but if he does not admit, then there will be a full-scale investigation into this matter.
That's right.
But what did your preliminary investigations reveal?
No. For now, when it comes to Chapter 24 allegations, the procedure is a bit different. The procedure in Article 287 requires first that we confront the person of interest with the allegations that have been made from an identifiable person, and in this case, the office of the president. And based on, in this case, the attachment that was sent to the commission, which is the documentary, we will flesh out the allegations of conflict of interest that have been set out in that documentary for him to determine, to tell us whether, in the light of those allegations, he admits to conflict of interest. And so that is slightly different from when we're doing other investigations. So Chapter 24 allegations have their own constitutional procedure, which requires first an opportunity to admit or deny. And then when there is admission, we don't do anything else than to take appropriate action consonant with the nature of the allegations that have been admitted to. If there is denial, we have to go straight in and launch the full-scale investigation. And so that will be another aspect of the case.
Okay. So, for instance, in this letter that we are writing to Mr. Ejenim Boateng-Ejay, which he is expected to respond to in 10 days, what exactly would you be asking him, for instance, as part of the education? Give us, an idea of what that letter will be like.
Oh, I think it would not be fair. He has a duty to, first of all, receive it before we can go public with any such information. And don't forget, the letter would only go to him tomorrow. So I'll be ready and willing to share the contents of the letter with you and your listeners by then.
But how tough a case do you have on your hands as Shraj?
Come again?
This particular issue, how tough a case is it, you would say?
Oh, no. It's not a tough case at all.
Okay.
We've done similar matters, even more detailed matters. After... I was actually not in the country when the matter was referred.
Exactly.
And so that's why...
But you've been receiving briefing on it today, I must say.
In fact, I got the briefing the whole of today, and
okay.
We've taken the decision to proceed. And it's not really a matter that Shraj will not crack. The only issue is that, when you launch into the investigation, you leave the options open to know whether other persons will come up as a result of the investigation. So that is the only aspect that we find a bit of a difficulty.
And that's what I'll just come into. Okay, so that's what I was just about to ask you, that apart from ABAJ, from what you have on your hands and what you've looked at so far, are there other interested parties that Shraj will be stretching out their arms to or so in this matter?
For now, I'll say, yeah, there are some possibilities, but I wouldn't want to name names.
Like the board?
I wouldn't want to name names. It's possible. Why not?
How about Mr. Ejenim Boating-Ejay's company, TDL, for instance? Are you also going to look into them as well? Are you inviting anybody from the company? And you know there have been calls for the suspension or dissolution of the board as well whilst investigations continue. Is Shraj also interested in that?
I would want to hold my horses for now and just let you and your listeners know that Shraj will do a great job on this, and we have done similar jobs in recent times. It's not an issue. When we get to that bridge, we'll cross it. But for now, we know that we are going to throw a wide net. That net will cover right from the PPA to companies that are associated with the former PPA CEO, and even some members of the MDAs and MMDAs, among others, for now. But we will start first with the PPA CEO.
Okay. And you're expecting him to respond in 10 days. Then we would know whether we are going to launch a full investigation into the matter.
Exactly.
But if that happens, how long will it take?
It will depend on the scope that will be thrown up as a result of the investigation. But given the public interest and level of the interest of the presidency, we'll throw everything at ensuring that we do an early conclusion to this matter.
And we can be assured of no external interference in this case, for instance.
Oh, from who?
Just saying.
I can assure you that this commission, I've been with the commission for a long time, doing almost most of the crucial investigations. There hasn't been any, and I respect governments in this regard in terms of ensuring the independence of the commission when it comes to investigations targeted at members of government. We have not had any, and we don't expect any.
Ms. Awatal, we're indeed grateful for your time there. That's the Shraj boss, Joseph Watal, and you heard him there. But my colleague, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, has also been interacting with the board chairman, Professor Boating, who says the board will comply with all investigations and ensure that there are no interferences.
Yes, after the investigation, if the board members are also implicated, of course, then obviously, I would definitely make my decision. I would definitely make my decision. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying here is we should all calm down. Let's see what the investigation is. And I hope it's not going to take too long, because I've made sure that every single individual within PPA is going to cooperate with this whole investigation process. Let's go through the process. The president has rightly, and we welcome it at the board, for an independent investigation. I think we should welcome that. I certainly do, and my board members do.
How are things unfolding at the PPA currently? The president says that the suspended CEO hand over to his deputy. Has he taken over yet?
He has taken over. In fact, I was there today. I addressed the staff, and it's business as usual. We are working to make sure that nothing infringes on, the service quality of PPA. We are basically doing what is right in the interest of the nation and also in support of the government agenda.
And are there any steps to ensure that the suspended CEO doesn't interfere with anything that may end up compromising the investigation?
Yes, yes.
And what's that step that's been taken in that regard?
Well, we've communicated. All the systems and processes are in place to ensure that the CEO, and I'm sure he's not going to interfere because I've already spoken to him about it. He's not going to interfere. Yes, and there are systems and processes in place, and the acting CEO is also aware. The company secretary is also aware. All the systems are in place to ensure that every information that is required is given out to the appropriate authorities to make sure that we have a comprehensive investigation to ensure that this thing obviously never happens again. For me, it's the lessons learned, which is critical. It should never happen again.
And this has obviously affected the image of the PPA negatively to a certain extent. Would you ever be able to recover as an organization?
The best of PPA is yet to come. Believe you me, the best of PPA, let me repeat this. We are going to recover from this.
You heard the board chairman of the Public Procurement Authority, Professor Boateng, there speaking to my colleague Joseph Opoku Gakpo earlier. And also we can hear from the chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Professor Stephen Ade, and he cited hypocrisy as a major factor hindering the fight against corruption in Ghana. He was speaking in Accra at the launch of Unashamedly Ethical, a global campaign to instill ethics, values, and clean living at the workplace, in public office, and in the private lives of individuals.
I think that there's a lot of hypocrisy in the nation about corruption. It's amazing when the watchdog or the keepers themselves come out to be probably among the most corrupt. So what is really needed is a few committed people who will dedicate their life to say that not only will we as individuals will not engage in corruption, but we will not allow other people to get away with corruption.
So you heard the chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Professor Stephen Ade, there, closing the issue on the Public Procurement Authority for now, because it's a developing story. You've heard from the Shraj boss, Joseph Whittal. You've also heard from Daniel Domelevo, the Auditor General, who is also launching an investigation into this. And of course, the Office of the Special Prosecutor. And Mr. Jenim Boateng is expected to appear before his outfit also on Thursday. And tomorrow, Mr. Jenim Boateng will receive a letter from the office of Shraj, and within 10 days, he's supposed to write back to the commission and either admit or not to the allegations of conflict of interest leveled against him, as well as other issues of corruption. And if he does not admit to it, then a full investigation will be launched into it. And you heard the Shraj boss assure that this issue is not such a tough case for them at all. And they are also spreading the net wide, and it will cover some MMDAs as well in this contract for sale scandal. We'll definitely be following that in this very developing story. But just before we wrap up Top Story, also another developing issue. In some less than or more than 2 years, a little over 2 years, the office of the Bulk Oil Storage Transportation Company, BOST, has lost 2 CEOs or managing directors, and some energy experts are already saying that the operations of the company will be affected. It looks like the consequences will be dire, he says. But you know that the 3rd CEO has been appointed in the person of Edwin Provençal. And I have a copy of a letter that's written from the Energy Ministry asking the board to either approve his nomination. And this letter is dated 26th August. And that's today. And it's titled Nomination of Mr. Edwin Provençal for appointment as Managing Director of BOST. And it is signed by the Deputy Minister, Finance and Infrastructure for the Minister, Honorable Joseph Kujo. And it says the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has nominated Mr. Edwin Provençal, Technical Advisor to the Ministry of Energy, to be considered by your board for appointment as the Managing Director of BOST as you seek to replace Mr. George Oakley upon his resignation from office. You are by this letter requested to take due note and assess the suitability of Mr. Provençal for appointment accordingly. Please find under this cover his curriculum vitae for your perusal. And we have a copy of that as well. And I'll just give you portions of it, his record. So Edwin is currently the technical advisor to the Ministry of Energy and has over 15 years experience in executive management roles in various organizations. And as MD of Vodafone, Wholesale National Communications Backbone Company and Director of Strategy in Vodafone, Ghana. So Edwin led the strategy execution via balanced scorecard implementation organization-wide. Now, this led to Vodafone leapfrogging from number 3 to number 2 in revenue market share in the telecoms industry. So Edwin has been working with the balanced scorecard since August 2006. And as the MD of Exceed Company Limited, Edwin was the balanced scorecard champion and introduced the methodology, which was one of the key pillars that propelled the organization to become number 1 contact center in Ghana. So amongst others, it highlights what the track record of Edwin Provençal, who is going to head the bulk oil storage transportation company as the 3rd CEO in a little over 2 years. I'll give you more on Newsnight shortly. But that's about it for Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready? Bone Savings and Loans, your success, our passion. Gasem Cement, the nation builder. I am MFA Pau. I'm back shortly with Komladum with Newsnight.